So y'all know your girl always has hot ass takes, right? Right. So I'm having this conversation with this woman, and we're talking about like marriage and stuff like that in these in a comment section. And I say, "Oh, I'm a stay-at-home wife," and she says, "Oh my gosh, why would you be a stay-at-home wife?" Da 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 da. And then some dudes pulled up and they joined in. Why would you? Why are you a stay-at-home wife? Why late? Y'all lazy? Da 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 da. In this economy, what do you do for this man? Da 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 da. The reason why I am a stay-at-home wife and why I think that all black women or majority of black women should be stay-at-home wives is because we never were able to do so. We never were allowed to do it. Right? Oftentimes when people have the conversation about feminism, they think that black women fought for the right to work. Black American women never fought for the right to work. Okay? Black American women were always forced to work. And due to the economic alienation of black men that has been going on since the plantation, right? When black men would build up things for themselves, et cetera, folk was burning down towns and then shutting them out of whole entire industries, it never allowed for black women to be able to sit the fuck down, right? Because a huge part of the American history story is the exploitation of black women specifically. Baby, they be out here trying to hold their mule, and we are the mule. Don't believe me? Let me show you some data. So this is from the Griot. Stay-at-home motherhood not an option for most black women. Unlike women of other ethnicities, black women have traditionally not had the choice to become stay-at-home mothers, right? Stay-at-home mothers, stay-at-home wives. It says black women were about half as likely as white women to be a stay-at-home mother, while the odds for women of other races did not differ from those of white women. Historically, black women have always had to work. There is evidence that married black women have always been employed outside of the house in large numbers. It gives you the citation there. Even black mothers with young children were in the workforce following World War II, when many of their white counterparts had withdrawn from the labor force. Now, mind you, after World War II, this is when women were in factories, et cetera, and held a lot of jobs while their men were overseas at war. And they actually intentionally pushed women out of those fields. The only group of women they didn't push out of those fields were black women, because they are constantly doing what? Muling us and exploiting us for labor. Also, right after World War One, when a lot of black men could afford for their wives to be stay-at-home wives, they actually, in various different states, passed laws that made it illegal for black women to be stay-at-home wives because they needed cooks, laundresses, maids, nannies, et cetera, et cetera. So they basically were like any able-bodied woman had to be employed. Now, the economy is perhaps the biggest reason why the idea of being a stay at home mother for black women hasn't been a reality. The recession took a toll on the economic status of many Americans, and the black community was hit particularly hard. And this is about the 2008 recession, I believe. Women usually have better success at getting jobs than black men do, right? Said Dr. Camille Charles, a professor of sociology and Africana studies at the University of Pennsylvania. So, if you're talking about a two-parent household, she's more likely to end up being the one to pick up the slack because historically, the women have been more employable and more desirable employees because of the gender stereotypes we have as African Americans. Black women have an unemployment rate of about 12.3%, slightly lower than the 13.8% unemployment rate for black men. Black men and black women have long worked to close the wealth gap between themselves and other ethnicities. And this is a great article to read because you're going to hear like some stories from other black women that made the choice to be stay-at-home moms, that have made the choice to be stay-at-home wives. Now, there's also single stay-at-home black moms too, which I did before I got married. I actually was a single stay-at-home mom. Now, this is from Pew Research, and you look right here and it says stay at home and working moms by race and ethnicity 2012. Now, you'll notice that a lot of the stay at home moms here in the black community are single. Now, why is this important? And it gives you this information right here too. The reason why this is important is because a lot of the black community is not married, right? So if you're not married, you will always, it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship, it doesn't matter if you're engaged, you will always be placed as a single mother for research, statistical data purposes. Always. The only people who get recognized as being married are actually married people. Okay, so they wouldn't put you. So that's why when we see this data, we see it that there are a large amount of black women who are stay-at-home moms, but considered single stay-at-home moms, even though more than likely they do have a partner. So I always say when you're looking for black data, especially in pertaining to women, you have to look at multiple sources, because we're not counted in high representation of we're not counted in marriage stats. Like, marriage stats don't tell the full story of black relationships. Okay, you have to go look at cohabitating stats, right? You have to go look at all of these other different areas to fully understand it. It does say among stay at home mothers, the most educated mothers are the most likely to be married with a working husband, not shown in the chart, right? Fully 88% of stay at home mothers with a college degree are married to a working husband. By contrast, among stay at home mothers with less than a high school diploma, only 57% are married with a working husband. The share is slightly higher for high school graduates who are stay at home mothers with a working husband. And so, anywho, this is why if black women are dating or planning to date or partner with black men, their economic outcomes are extremely important. Okay, a lot of times they get mad, they get sensitive when we talk about this, but their educational attainment, whether it's college, trades, certs, diplomas, their earning potential is very important, especially if you plan to have children, because a lot of new moms have to leave the workforce, and you don't want to have to leave the workforce and be poor. Okay. But do I think that it would be a really nice thing to see black women actually be able to withdraw from the workforce and stay home? Yes. And we have to understand, because I am actually a feminist and a womanist, we have to understand that YT history and feminism is not our feminism. It's not our feminism. It's not our history. It's not our story. Okay. Now I feel like it's our time to do it. Okay. And do I think that it's lazy? No, because you do plenty of shit around the house. If a black woman is some damn where, most of the time some work is being done. Okay. But for to spare black women the stress that goes on in corporate America, how they constantly chew us up and spit us out and mistreat us and overwork us and underpay us and things like that. I feel like for black women to be protected in the community for real, then being a stay-at-home mom and being a stay-at-home wife comfortably is an option that black women should have. Okay? Like, actually fucking protect and provide. Okay?